This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Rolf, Gerritsen, the CEO of MetalNRG, following news of an agreement to source debt for waste-to-energy projects. So hello, Rolf. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Very well, Mark. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Yes, you too. So you've agreed an exclusive remit for Advicor PLC to source a 20 million to 40 million debt facility to be invested on a project-by-project basis in identified, qualified and shovel-ready waste-to-energy projects in Europe. And the RNS states that extensive work has been completed by the partnership to secure exclusivity and develop pre-qualified secured pipeline of waste-to-energy and waste-to-fuel projects. So you speak about the pipeline of projects then, and these two tiers that were mentioned in the RNS that you're looking at. Can you expand on the types of projects that you're doing due diligence on?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. The work that is being completed in terms of putting that pipeline together looks at investments that can be made right now. And when I say investments, it's where debt can be applied right now. To be able to apply debt to projects, you need certain ticks in boxes. So, for example, you need to have the output of the plant secured in terms of revenue, so sales. You need the feedstock agreements pretty much to be in place, and you need a relatively short period of time to get into commissioning of the plant and get it to produce. So that is what we've referred to as tier one, those projects that are debt ready today. And more importantly, they are projects that have already completed a financial close, but the investment is currently equity based. And what we're looking at doing is converting some of that equity through the application of debt. Okay. So that's what we're looking at doing. And I think the other key point here is in terms of due diligence, we're really focusing on projects that EQTEC have worked on quite extensively. And what we're doing is we're coming in as the infrastructure investor. And our positioning as MetalNRG with regards to the whole waste to energy is not only to own and let others operate the plants. Our plan here is to invest in or put money to use in projects that will, in a relatively short period of time, start producing revenue, package some of these assets up when they have sustainable, predictable revenues and profitability, and then sell them on. So what we're doing is we're adding value to the chain, and then you've got possibilities of opening up a sales process of those assets to pension funds who are quite interested, and life insurance companies are quite interested in sustainable, predictable revenues and profits. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're doing. We're not looking at keeping and running these for 20, 30 years. We're looking at creating value out of the plants that we're in putting money in. Mm-hmm. Having said that, so tier one have completed financial close. We're looking at converting equity and applying debt to that. And the second tier is our projects that are looking at financial close within the next 12 months. So it's a little longer, and we'd be looking, so they're not ready to apply the debt to just yet, but they should be ready based on where we are and the track record that EQTEC have achieved. They should be ready between Q2 and Q4 of next year. Okay. So that's where the pipeline is being defined. If you look at the tier one, there's probably about 6 or 7 projects that have been earmarked. They're in Europe, and they meet the criteria that I mentioned up front, which is we've got the feedstock, we've got contracts on exit, so either we're plugging into the grid, as in Italy, and the beauty of Italy, we have some, for the next 5 years, we've got some fantastic premium tariffs that are a legacy from the previous plant, and we're doing the same in Greece, France, and we're looking at Croatia. So there are a number of projects within the tier one that we're looking at putting money to use this year.
Okay. And how do these lines of credit work within this agreement? Will Advicor be the financier, or are they looking to brokering debt finance deals for you?
Advicor is an M&A finance boutique. And what they do is they work with a number of investors. And when we started speaking to them, they mentioned to us that they have a number of investors who are looking for these type of projects. And they said to us, look, if your projects are within the criteria and meet the parameters that I've just touched upon, then there's a very good likelihood of us being able to secure funds, because we have investors who are currently very active in looking at applying debt to these type of projects. And that's where Advicor comes in. The second part, that if the relationship builds up nicely with Advicor, is that they'll work with us on the exits as well, so that we can recycle the money at the same time. But that is all to be established. We're taking the business development partnership with EQTEC step by step. Step one was, let's secure a qualified, secured, qualified is the key word here, pipeline of projects that we can apply debt to. That's step one. Step two, let's start applying, let's start raising that debt and find someone to work with to do that. Advicor fits that very nicely. We've got an exclusive agreement with them, and we'll develop that relationship. The investments will be, or the debt application will be project by project. So the investors that we're bringing in would be looking at it project by project. And that's how they will do their due diligence, and that's how they will do they ultimately make their decision. But once we've got that up and running, there's a number of projects that we can bring to the table. And EQTEC has done an outstanding job, not only in securing financially very attractive, economically very attractive projects, but also projects that are a little different than just building from scratch, because these are plants that are being refurbished, they're upgraded, and they're increasing flexibility in terms of inputs. And therefore, they are very attractive from an economic perspective, because the time to get them to produce the kind of revenues we're talking about is relatively short. Plus, the IRRs are quite interesting on these projects, because they're all between 12 to 16%, which is not bad in these particular instances.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know, of course, we've spoken before about how to finance these projects, and it seems today that is advancing significantly. You say on a project-by-project basis. Does that mean then that you will present a project and they will carry out their due diligence, present to their investors, and then make a decision on funding it?
We're working at the moment. We're working on three key projects that are being put together and taken to investors. So those will be looked at by the investors that Advicor represents, and we'll go from there. So they will be made, decisions will be made on a project by project basis, and the structure of all of these will need to be looked at again on a project by project basis. But the beauty of what we've done here is again, it goes back to the model which we put in place, which is that all of these are through special purpose vehicles, which means that the security is at project level. And therefore, we're able, with a market cap of 2 million, and we're looking at these kind of amounts. Why? Because we're able to secure the debt against the projects.
Well, that was actually my next question. The fact that MetalNRG's market cap is only 2 million, you've managed to secure such a deal, but that's because it will be secured on the project level.
Yeah, and the project level is the key here, and the job that EQTEC have done in packaging these up so that they're debt ready is quite exceptional, and we're benefiting from a lot of work they've done and coming along and helping them on the funding side to secure the debt to get these things up and running.
Okay. So 2 final thoughts from you, Rolf. Just on the waste to energy market, how big do you feel that's going to be going forward into the future? And how are MetalNRG positioning for this? I mean, would you say you have first mover advantage to an extent in this with your partner with EQTEC?
I don't think we have first mover advantage. There are a number of key players that are playing in this field. I think the advantage that we have is that we've developed a very strong relationship with EQTEC, and they are definitely ahead of the game because they've been playing this game for a very long time. And therefore, their connections, their processes, and the pipeline that they bring is quite outstanding. And the quality of the projects are really quite outstanding, and that is a great tick in the box for us, and it helps us very substantially. In terms of where is this going, look, that's a big question with what's going on in the world at the moment. But if you look at the dependencies that most economies have on oil and gas, the pricing of that at the moment, and the environmental impact that those commodities have on, as I said, in terms of general environment, and the statements that have been made by a number of economies is moving towards net zero, and it's going to require a huge investment, and Europe is under specific pressures. They are extremely dependent on Russia, not only for oil and gas, but they're going to have to shift towards, be it solar, be it wind, and these syngas waste energy plants. Waste is not going away. Predictions on the increase of waste over the next 20 years is that we're going to see a 70% increase in waste. Something has to be done with this waste. You can't go down landfill anymore because that's being eliminated by most countries. You're going to have to start doing something else with it. You can't just incinerate it because you're creating CO2, which is not positive. So the application and the process that EQTEC have developed is a very neat fit. And therefore, who knows how big this could be. But in my opinion, there's a hell of a lot of money that needs to go into converting our economy and weaning it off the oil and the gas. And Europe is at a particular point in that transition where the pressures put on by the current situation between Russia and Ukraine is such that it might even further accelerate that shift. Mm-hmm. But can I put a number to it? Look, I've seen so many numbers and it talks trillions. We're a little part of it, and I'm very happy to play a very little part. We're punching above our weight, which I'm pleased about. But we're definitely, playing a game. Our focus is on the 1 megawatts to about 3 megawatts in terms of size. So again, we're not looking at the massive plants because we want to be able to spread risk over a large number of projects as opposed to just doing very large one-offs. So that's our plan and our focus, and we'll be part of the game and hopefully be part of the solution to bring Europe towards net zero.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll just ask you one last question, just if there's any update or any updates to come on Goldridge, just looking at obviously the price of gold. Anything you can say on that or not?
Yeah, we've been working, and the field work has been completed, and we are currently waiting for the results from the labs on the samples that we took, and again, hopefully, as I said before, we should have those by the middle of next quarter. So there's news coming out. Work is ongoing. It's good. The team, we had a team of 6 people out there, and they did a good job, and we're now awaiting the results.
Okay. Well, Rolf Gerritsen, the CEO of MetalNRG, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.